just gonna have a good old time. Here we go.
And I'm gonna remind you, I got a hard out at 11:30.
Got you. That's not even a problem, bro. That's not even a problem. Here we go.
Perfect.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Blackout Tales podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
And we are live on a Sunday, ready to do some podcasting early in the morning. The official weapon of the show is
phone chair,
and the unofficial sport,
bullet ball.
And bullet ball extreme. Just show note, letting y'all know, look in the link at the bottom of the show notes, okay? Live tickets are being sold, okay? We have a show coming up the last day of Black History Month, okay? Which technically makes it the blackest day of the year. February 28th on a Friday, Charlotte, North Carolina. You can get virtual tickets now. So if you can't attend in person, you can still get your tickets for online.
Yeah, virtually in person.
Yeah, you can get in-person tickets. And I'm telling y'all, the VIP tickets are going super fast.
VIP ain't playing.
Y'all are not playing about that. Y'all really want to meet us, take a picture and get a poster. And I don't blame you.
Yeah,
okay, it's worth it. It's worth it. We're awesome. We smell nice. We give good hugs. So I don't blame you. But just letting y'all know, these motherfuckers are moving. So if I don't know what we might have to open up more. I don't know. But just letting y'all know, because I don't want to hear later on, like, man, I was waiting to do it. And it's gonna be like, well, but buddy, you heard me several times on the show. All right, that's out of the way. Let's talk about today's guest. Today's guest is author, journalist, speaker, storyteller, podcaster, winner of the Randy Starkman Award for leadership in sports journalism, and author of My Fighting Family, available wherever books are sold. It is the homie Morgan P Campbell, where the P stands for published. What's going on, player?
In paragraphs. You wrote a lot of them.
Yes, P stands for published, author. P stands for perpetually late, because I'm not just I'm a dad. I'm a sitcom dad. It's me, my wife, our daughter, our niece, and our mother-in-law in this house. So I'm a sitcom dad.
Well, I just appreciate you making the time, brother. Right? To be honest, like it's. I know it's a lot of stress dealing with that much family and stuff. And you got the book that came out. You did, I see you out here on your press run and whatnot, man. So, I'm just glad you was able to make it. It's been too long.
Yes,
listen, this is part of the press run, because the thing about selling a book, especially, for your audience, I am a dual citizen. I'm American and Canadian. My parents are American. I was born and raised here in Toronto.
Well, for now, dual citizen for now. We'll see how it works out in a month or two, because
they might
they try to change the rules on those mortgages.
They might be like, no, buddy.
Well, that is a real thing, right? And I'm a citizen because of the 14th Amendment. Both of my parents are American, born and raised in the U.S. So the fact that both of my parents were born in the U.S. makes me an American. But if they say Constitution, what Constitution? I don't know what happens to all of us. But in terms of the press run, getting media in Canada is one thing, but the audience for my book is sort of specific, And listen, I love the publishing company, and they would hustle hard to get me an interview in Saskatchewan or whatever. But I don't know how many people in Saskatchewan really want to read a book about Black Americans in Canada. But your audience, a bunch of y'all might want to read this book. So this is the press run. The press run never stops, man.
Yes, and as somebody, this is my review, because I didn't go post it online.
We're posting online, man. We got to feed the algorithm. Come on now.
Okay, I will. I haven't posted online yet, but I will.
By the way, this is the second show in a row where Karen has done the review without reviewing, because when we had Russell Hainline on the show last week, and he made the movie Hot Frosty. And Karen had texted me and a friend. She had texted both of us her review of the movie, and we're on the air, and she's like, read my review, baby. I'm like, why didn't you read the review? Why didn't you put the review somewhere where people can read it?
Easy. I'm sorry. I'm having a problem.
But go ahead.
Listen, you got to post it. It's just like leaving the 5-star review for the podcast, man. The algorithm, they don't understand qualitative stuff. All they understand is the number of hits.
That's true. So when we get off that's going to be the goal. But for those of you that have not, I did the audio book, and because for certain people, I love to hear their voices, and listening to it in audio form for me was perfect, because I learned so many things about you. I learned kind of the difference between here and Canada, like how things are viewed. And you touched on so many things. You touched on the way Canadians view Americans, the way Americans view Canadians, and the blackness and how they blend and how they cross, and how that formed you.
Yeah.
And I got to hear like personal stories about you that I kind of otherwise wouldn't know. And so I love taking that dive into your mind. And I know you write about various different things, but I love, like, this is specifically for you. I was like, ooh. So I was all in. I had a ball listening.
I appreciate it. And just to get your audience caught up, so my book is a memoir. It's about growing up Black and American in Canada in a family whose two halves are at war. And so, you know, each of those details is ground zero for a lot of conflict because we're Black in a country where most of the people are white. We are Black American in a Black community where most of the Black people are Caribbean. And then just the personalities in my family, they just grate on each other and they grind on each other until shit blows up. And if you get the audiobook, I read the audiobooks, and any like aspiring authors out there, when you get your book deal and they want to do an audiobook, read the audiobook yourself because it happens faster. They don't have to go hire an actor, and they pay you extra to read the audiobook.
That's what
and in the case of my book, you guys read my book, you've heard it. There's a lot of Black American people talking to each other.
Right.
I've
heard bad audiobooks, baby. By somebody yes.
And see, I don't know how much you guys are forced to appreciate this because you live in the U.S. You live around a lot of other African Americans. But one thing I can't stand is the affected American Black accent from someone who drives me nuts. And so don't go, because when I thought about actors, if they were going to hire an actor, there was only going to be two people, and one of them was not named Aubrey Graham. Do you see what I'm saying? There's two actors that I would have trusted to read this audiobook. Everybody else, like, because when I hear Caribbean Canadians, to me, doing American Black accents sound every bit as bad as I would sound doing a Jamaican accent.
Right.
You know what I mean? Difference being is I know my limitations, but these cats would try to talk to me in this fake American Black accent. I'm like, get your ass out of here, man. You don't sound how you think you sound. So, but yeah, if you hear the audiobook, that's why it's me on the audiobook. And the extra bonus is that you get to hear me sing a little bit, because part of the book I do explore like my fascination with sleazy slow jams. And so there we
also
go.
Like you get to make the editorial decision of like, when am I going for this accent and when am I just gonna read this as like, without the people at home just gonna have to understand he had a Jamaican accent, but I'm not saying it in a Jamaican accent. You know, as opposed to some actor feeling like, you know, between that actor and the person that's helping record it, they may be like, give us a take where you giving me that Jamaican, and next thing you know, you listening to your own book and it's out there like, I had true job, man.
Well, the parts of the book where I do have to like voice a Jamaican person talking in patois or just with a thick Jamaican accent, because the accents are so over the top, and because you know it's me reading, and because you know I'm not from there, you kind of get some leeway, you know.
Exactly.
But you know, there are other people in the book who, like, when I would read their dialogue in their voice that I remember their voice being, the producer would be like, don't read it in that person's voice, just read it in your voice, because that person's voice is too ridiculous. Because there was a guy that sounded like Grover in my high school, and I read it in his voice, and they're like, nope, don't do it. It's distracting.
Yes, this isn't a comedy book, okay?
Right.
Morgan, how long did it take for this book to come to fruition, from like pitch to publishing, when it was time? Because I know there's a lot to the book process. You got like agents getting involved, publishing house getting involved, sometimes you have to sell a pitch, sometimes it's a person coming to you. Like, what was the process like for you, and how long?
Either being famous or just having a relationship with somebody at the publisher will save you time on the front end in terms of pitching a book and getting it approved and bought. So for me, just in terms of the content, some of those essays were things I'd just been playing with, you know, that I had started and I'd written like in the mid 20 teens and just forgotten about, or just, you know, they're just laying around on my hard drive. But in terms of like really getting the book done, what happened was I quit the Toronto Star. For a long time, I was a reporter at the Toronto Star here in Toronto as a sports writer. I still write freelance, but, you know, just not for anyone, for a lot of outlets instead of just one. So I quit there, and I was, you know, when journalists, when they leave their jobs they always start a Twitter thread and they say in personal news, but the news is never personal. It's always professional news. In personal news, I'm leaving my job. That's a professional. But so I did that tweet thread about leaving the Toronto Star. And literally the next morning, I got a DM from Scott Sellers, who is the VP of marketing, I think is his actual title at Penguin Random House Canada. The thing about Scott was his Twitter avatar was not his picture. His Twitter avatar was a picture of a gorilla in a New York Islanders jersey. So he's DMing me. He's like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Oh, I'm thinking of writing a book." He's like, "Let's meet." And so he emailed me in between, and the email was like super familiar. I'm like, he's just like, why is this guy? I appreciate the contact, but why is he like talking to me like he already knows me?
Right.
And then I go downtown and I meet him, and I recognize him. We used to work out at the same gym, but it's just the fact that the Twitter avatar, if the Twitter avatar had been his face, I'd have got it. It's like, oh, that's why he's just like.
Was you expecting a gorilla to show up?
I love that book. But so basically I pitched him the book. He's like, "What are you trying to pitch?" I was like, "Picture a memoir that sort of splits the difference between What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Blacker by Damon Young and Boy Wonders by Cathal Kelly, who is a Canadian sports columnist, really good writer." I said, if you think of those two books and you put them in a blender, this is the book I'm thinking of. He's like, "Perfect. Can you have," and this was like right before the pandemic. He's like, "Can you have a proposal to me in 3 weeks?" I was like, "Yeah." And so I gave him the proposal, and he's like, "Look, we're going to buy the book. You better get an agent, because if you don't have an agent, we'll pay you X. You get an agent, we can pay you X 1.5X.
Right.
So, and they will just make, you know, and you will take home 1.35X because the agent got to take their fee, but like we'll make more money." Yeah. So in terms of, but it's because like I could have sold this book anywhere, but it just went a lot faster
because you knew.
Yes. And then in terms of writing it, so that was the middle of 2020. By the time we signed the contract, it was July of 2020. I didn't finish it till the end of 2022, like November 2022. I could have finished it, like if I had a chance to work at it like a full-time job, I could have finished in 8 months. But because I'm the sitcom dad and there's always a trillion things happening, like I don't always get to like, you know, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, just bang away at this manuscript.
Right.
And then the back end, there's like the edits, you know, and those take about 8 more months. And they just keep sending you back like the whole manuscript. And like, we want to change this one thing on page 246. You send it back. And they send you the whole manuscript back again. Oh, by the way, 247. Can we change this one word? Like that. So that takes probably about 8 more months. But you're editing right up until the very end. Like, so what happens is when you read the audiobook, a lot of times you will find mistakes just in reading the audiobook. And so then you make a note with the producers and they wind up going and changing the galley.
And do you have to make the edit on the fly when you notice that mistake? Like, is it like
you just you just have an iPad in front of you and you're reading, but between you and then there's an editor in the next room, and then there's a producer somewhere remote, and then you make the note, and then they tell the editorial team. Yeah, so it's like that.
But I guess what I'm saying is, like, would you have to re-record it because, like, say you find a mistake?
Yes.
Okay.
That's so what happens is after you record the whole audiobook, you'll come back another day and just read one sentence at a time. Like, oh, read sentence 3, page 26. All right, now reread sentence. Now reread page 78, last paragraph, like that. And you'll just do a bunch of these. Yeah, and it might just be literally one line. I walked into the room, right? Yeah. Because before you said I walked into her room, and then they decided to change it. It's like that. So you do a whole day of just one lines.
Yeah, pickups, man. We used to do them with game theory.
Exactly.
we record an episode and Bo's a fucking beast. So like,
yeah,
we could go through an episode and it really would seem like he ain't make no mistakes. Like where we just like, this motherfucker just did 30 minutes of TV without fucking up. That's crazy. And then inevitably, no matter how good we thought he did, there's someone's job somewhere to be like, all right, guys, we're gonna do pickups on such and such. And you're like, what did he fuck up? I got the headphones on. I'm going through the script as he's saying. And then, and it could be something as simple as like accent. It could be it could be they just want an alternative take on it so that, and when you go home and you see like the little change or whatever, because those people do know what they're doing, it really can make a huge difference where it's like, I walked into her room or I walked into the room.
Yes.
That person is enough removed from the process to make that judgment and to make it better, even in a way that you're like, I killed that shit today. I read all the lines perfect.
It was funny. Because there's a couple things. Again, when you have like white Canadians sort of listening to Black Americans talk, there's a bit of a disconnect.
Right.
And so they kept telling me, not to say influence. And I was like, you guys say influence. I say influence.
Right. Right.
Especially like if I'm quoting some American Black person, listen, sometimes the R is just not at the end of a word. What do you want?
Yeah. And sometimes that's another part, because sometimes like you gotta take a stand and be like, nah, which is another thing we had to do on there sometimes. Like, I understand that you don't get this joke.
Right.
But this shit funny.
Yeah, you ain't gonna kill it. Yeah, because sometimes they could kill whatever you're trying to do by that little change.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember I forget the exact reference, but it was some reference to some movie. And they were like, maybe we should rely on a different type of joke than like a movie reference joke. And like all the Black people in the room was like, nah, this the right one. We're not finding a better joke than that. Like, I feel like if I would have made the movie reference Footloose instead of Breaking, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Agreed. Yes.
So let's not go there. But that's dope, man. Like, and are you seeing, like, did the pandemic help or hinder the writing process? Because I know that was a unique time where people were kind of less out and about. There was less entertainment to do. There was like a lot of people became very insular, and like your circle became smaller. Your activities kind of became a smaller bubble. And I know writing, sometimes it's like people thrive with the distraction. Like, I'm glad I have a bunch of other shit to do, and then I can come back to this when I feel like it. Sometimes people they need to sit in the room and they're gonna figure it out, and they come out 8 hours later, like they're coming down from the mountain with the 10 Commandments. What was it?
I like to be that guy.
Okay.
In a perfect world, I'm that guy. But so on the one hand, the pandemic really messed with my rhythm, because that was when I really became sitcom dad, because that's when everybody showed up at my house, in addition to me and my wife and my daughter. And it's always been my job. Somehow it became my job during the pandemic. Like, I was the point person. I was the main person, like, babysitting while everyone else was awake. So if I wasn't up literally at 3:30 in the morning trying to get everything done in my day before 7, I was screwed. So in that sense, it messed with my timing. But what it did allow me to do, because hotels were so cheap, because they were under capacity, there were a couple points. I did this probably 3 or 4 times. And I would tell my wife and my mother-in-law and my niece, like, look, y'all got to take care of the baby this week, because I'm going to be on for 8 whole days. I'm just going to be downtown, because the hotels were like $80 a night or whatever, and I could, well, not expense it. I'm self-employed, but, write it off in taxes. And I could just go and just lock myself in a hotel room. Because you couldn't even go to cafes at that point. You couldn't go sit. You'd have to bring the coffee back, whatever. But, and just go lock myself in a hotel room and focus. Sort of have a binge. Yeah. Now, again, that's not what I like to do ideally.
Right.
That was sort of what the pandemic forced on me. But like in terms of like when you just have to overcome some inertia, you just got a big block of work you got to do. It can be productive just to basically have a retreat. It's just that retreats can get expensive, but during the pandemic, when even the nicest hotel is way south of $100 a night, then it can be worth it.
Did you feel like you had to mine the depths of your soul to write? Because it's a memoir. And I often when I read memoirs, I often wonder how much, because editors have to push and they want you to go deep and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And not to make it too personal or racial, but I'm gonna make it racial. I feel like
with me, feel free to make it racial whenever. You don't even have to warn me. Just make it racial. I'm good.
I feel like with Black folks, there's a bit of a protective instinct for our families that is a little, no, I guess there's no way to not be offensive. Something that I don't think white people necessarily have, where it's like a more of a like, you know, like you meet white people, they hate their parents, they call their mom bitch. You know, it's like there's a level there where it's like, I don't know what the cultural experience is, but like it's different for y'all. Like you are very comfortable kind of putting your parents out there on blast in for a lot of these like white authors when they write the memoir. And in my mind, when I'm reading it, I'm always thinking to myself like, and then you just go back for Thanksgiving, they cool with it? Did they not read the book? Right. So I wonder, for you, was there a push to be like, listen, you got to get in here, really roughly interrogate your family. You got like, if you got to put like the deepest, darkest secrets out there or whatever, and was there any protective aura from you where you're like, not everything's going in this motherfucker. Like y'all, I'm giving y'all what's pertinent, not necessarily, you know, the unfiltered, unfettered look into everything in my family.
Well, there's also a difference between just writing a memoir, where you as the author and the narrator have to be vulnerable, and then just putting your family's business out there, you know, on Fresh Street. As those are two very different things. They overlap some, but the difference is, like, I'm not famous, and so if I just write a bunch of family dirt, nobody's gonna publish that. No one's gonna read it because my last name is not Kardashian or whatever. You're just a person with a messy family. Lots of those. You know,
yes, there is.
Right. So for me, it was, you know, you do have to go to a place, like mentally, emotionally, to go talk about this, to go talk about the last year of your father's life, to go talk about like how his death affected you and the rest of your family, how you rebound from that, how in some ways you never do, you know. So that was the main, and also in the writing, because I did make sure that, like, for whatever flaws I wrote about, like in other people's character or whatever, the things that they did, you know, that left scars. But I did make sure that like nobody in this book like fell on their face more consistently than I did.
Right.
So,
you
know, but it is tough writing about family because you know, if you guys have read the book or listened to the book, like my grandfather, my mom's dad, is a big character in the book.
Right.
You know, I admire him in a lot of ways, but he was also a vengeful, petty troublemaker.
Right.
Fight starter. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of my mom's brothers was like, he was sort of salty about it, you know? But like, if I had written Claude Jones as a character that made like the Claude Jones fans happy,
right,
anyone that really knew him, including the Claude Jones fans, would be like, I don't recognize that person.
Exactly.
Right. And so I could see how, you know, everyone, all the characters in the book within the family, they have their little fan clubs, you know.
Yeah.
What happens is all the fans of one particular character, like all the Claude Jones fans, are like, this doesn't sound like Claude. When they know it does.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, the stuff I wrote about my dad, his flaws, the stuff I wrote about his mom, her flaws, they read all that and they're like, yeah, that tracks. Oh, but the thing about Claude, that's not true. Okay.
Right. Which is family. Like, that's that's family. That's like when you get together for Thanksgiving and everybody tells the old stories. And whenever you get the one that's like kind of fucked up, You know, like,
hey man,
next time we got a whooping and we wasn't even wrong. Mom, she said come in at 8, but then she said later that she said street lights. And like your mom's like, I don't remember that. And you're like,
no, yes.
Okay, you don't remember the formative memory of my childhood? Okay. Yes. All right. I guess we just collectively made that shit up today. You know?
Well, listen, if like my grandpa was alive, like if you read the book, like point by point in that book, the things that he did that people remember that he did, the people that people remember when he came and just cut him off at the kneecaps. If you ask him about it, he'd be like, I don't remember. Nope. Must have been another guy. It wasn't me.
Yep. Two Clyde Joneses.
Yeah.
Y'all know my twin brother. Nah, but it is interesting though, because like I my friend Bossy Igby wrote a memoir a few years ago. Great memoir.
Yep.
I'm lying. But having an insight to her as a friend, where she's telling me about this process, and it's like, yeah, sometimes like the note is like, well, can you give us a little bit more about your mom's health struggles? Like, you got to decide. Like, you got to make a decision. Like, is that something I'm selling? Is this something I'm running? Because these people still exist in my life. So I have consequences to telling this story. The season of I think season 2 of Queen Sugar went into this with one of the main characters where she's writing a memoir and it's about her family. And she came back home and the family was like, bitch, fuck you. Like, like to a person, everybody was like, why you put that shit in there? You didn't run it by us. You didn't talk to me. Ask. And she's like, but it's the truth. This is my truth. And then of course, people are bringing up like circumstances she couldn't have known about. So they like, well, yeah, to you, that's what happened. But did you know it's because we was protecting you from this? And it's like, well, no, I didn't know that. So like, is there any impetus to run stuff by people to like sit down and talk with them about it? Or is it like, this is my truth as I see it, and that's what's going in the book?
I had to do a lot of fact checking with my mom and my aunt especially, but I also did have to warn my whole family. One, that I had no interest in relitigating any of these family fights.
Right.
Because again, you guys that have read the book or listened to it, that's one thing they love to do. So if they're like, yo, rematch from 2004, let's get it on. Like, no, I'm not doing any of that. So any fight that you feel is unresolved and you think you're going to go 12 more rounds and maybe win this, no, I'm not doing it, man.
Right. We too old. We're good.
Yeah. You're just going to be like, like old Manny Pacquiao is right now, just begging someone to fight. But two, I did have to warn them, like, this is not the book any of you guys would have written. Right. And so, especially for my mom's generation, like her and her siblings, if they had written the book, there would be a lot more of their mom in the book.
Yes.
And I warned them, there's not a ton of y'all's mom in the book because I just can't pay equal attention to all these characters, and I got to put the most weight on, the characters that were making the most noise, and exerting the most force on our family. And so that's why, mom's dad got the most attention. My dad's mom got the most attention than my two parents. And so for the most part, they got it. My mom struggled with it a little bit. I had to have a talk with my mom because she read just part of the introduction and was on me about stuff that I had not written. I'm like, Mom, you are 4 pages into this book.
Right.
You can't get on me about stuff that I haven't written because there's the whole rest of the book. I'm going to get to that. I can't put the whole book in the first 4 pages.
Then they won't read it
in the warm-up pages.
Right.
Like if I tell them everything right now, they just not going to finish the book, Mom.
Yeah. And so eventually my mom got it. But it's different too for family members reading the book.
Right.
Because they remember these things. They live through them. I just try to tell them, like, just pretend you're reading about someone else's family, which is easy advice to give, is difficult advice to follow.
Right.
So, but for the most part, they've gotten it. But like my aunt, my mom's sister, she hasn't finished the book. She's just like, because she's right at the sleazy slow jam chapter. And understandably, it's making her uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
So she stopped, but I'm like, just skip the chapter. Like, you're not in class. No one's gonna quiz you on that. So just skip
it.
First time I heard "Come Inside" was on a family trip to Atlanta with my mom and my aunt and my brother, and I had never.
Who was playing that?
It was my CD. I had never heard the whole thing, and like I had just got a couple of new CDs. I had Brian McKnight, I had Intro, and
it's about that time of year. Yeah, that era.
Summertime. I might have had DJ Jazzy Jeff. He's the rapper, whatever. Right? He's the DJ. I'm the rapper.
Yeah.
Anyway, for some reason we threw the intro in, and I had never heard it. And the radio version, the radio version of "Come Inside" ends about 2 minutes earlier than the album version.
Yes.
And, this is back in the day when they used to put interludes on albums that were like full, like skit, like there was acting happening.
Yes.
It was like a sexual act out, and it was very embarrassing and terrible.
And you know
so go ahead, Kare.
I'm sorry. As somebody, as I've gotten older, have done like voice acting and things like that. Now I'm going, oh, y'all was doing a lot, like, because I'm like, because I've been behind the scenes and understand like what it takes to make an audio book and all that stuff.
If you really want to dismantle the whole allure of the 90s era hip hop and how hardcore and real and thug and street and all this shit that it was, go back and listen to those interludes and think about the fact that none of that happened. And these are, you realize essentially these are theater kids.
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of them.
Tupac is a theater kid. You know, like these Mobb Deep went to like theater school. Like there's a reason their skits on their albums are full act. Like Ghostface Killer and Woodrow the Crack Basshead is a fucking like living color sketch at this point. Like they were thinking about that as much as they thought about them lyrics and where the song placement goes and the beat. They were like, but don't forget, we need a fucking finger bang session that we fake recorded at the end of Come.
Yes, I could imagine moan harder, moan louder.
Right.
Well, so the part where on the outro to Come Inside, where Kenny Green says to the girl, "Watch those teeth." Did you have to explain to your mom what that meant? I
didn't have to explain because I was of the age to not know what the fuck they was talking about either. I was like, what is happening?
What is this?
I didn't even like in hindsight, it's clear as day now.
Yeah.
You know, now that I've had sex more than a few times, I'm like, oh, come inside. Okay. I see what you did. At that time, I thought they meant come inside the house. I didn't know.
You did on one. That was a triple entendre, like Kendrick Lamar, 20 years ahead of time.
Man, is this, first of all, I know it, I'm sure authors get tired of this question. So just preface it with that. But
authors don't get tired of any question, because if you're asking us a question, it means you're talking about our book. And one thing we love doing is talking about our book, because if you ain't talking about the book, nobody's buying the book. So ask the question.
Okay. All right. So I feel like the what's next thing is asked a lot. Like, and it's like you just put the Herculean task of putting a book baby into the world, and it's like, so what's the next thing? What, you got another book in you? Like, but is there a next for either another book, another project, or a next as in looking at this same book and being like another media, another platform, like TV, movies, stuff like that?
First thing first, I would like to write another book. I don't think it would be another memoir, only because I am not enough of a narcissist to think people want to read even more about me, right? Like anything else that happened in my life, it's anything that's like interesting to other people is in this book.
Right.
Write about what am I going to write a memoir about now? Like
you just got to go out. You got to go out and make new shit happen. Like you just.
What did Kendrick say? I'm sorry, I live a boring life.
Right. Yeah.
Unless y'all want to read about me mowing my lawn, tending the garden, you know, that's the big drama. Oh shit, I got a fungus in the garden.
I cut the grass too low.
Y'all call me antisocial. I just be in the house. You know.
That's the drama these days.
No, I mean, you could pick up, like, you could start making some mistakes right now. I mean,
that's true.
It's not too late.
Never too late.
It's not too late to pick up a new habit like heroin or something. You know, like maybe alcoholism. You know, just do.
There's plenty of vices out there.
Just do some shit that most people would look at and go, "That's unexplainable," and you'd be like, "Aha!"
Just do it for the story. Yeah, and I do it for the story. Do it for the story. What was the second half of your question again?
Would you consider if someone was like, "Yo, I like this story enough to, like, we want to make a TV series"?
I would love the opportunity. I would love the opportunity to do that, if only because it boosts book sales. You know.
Okay, you still an author and a capitalist to the core. You like, nah, fuck. If it can make the money, yes, but just as an artist, I wouldn't want this existing in the world. Or how's that work?
Well, no. You know, if somebody comes and buys the TV rights, then that's what they do. You get paid one time,
right?
And the thing is, but once you sell
they might have you, like, put it this way: if you had your druthers, you could just get the one check, and they like, Morgan, thank you, we about to go to TV land and make up whatever the fuck we want to make up. Or if they were like, yo, we gonna make you a consultant on this. Right. We want you on the set. We want you looking at the acting, choices we have as characters. Is that, because I can also understand that not being something you're into. If, you know what I'm saying, like, just because it's your story doesn't mean you like, I want to be the TV guy now. But is it something you would want to do if they decided that?
Yeah, so somebody came and wanted to make this into a miniseries or something like that. Mm-hmm. I would want to be a consultant, and they would have to overpay me to get me out of the way. Because I will take less money for the creative control. Right. But if they say, here's $7 million, and they're like, do what you want. Say whatever you want about me. Portray me as a crack at $7 million. Do what you want, man.
But I'm with you. Have a good time.
Right.
I don't care how it turns out.
I'm just imagining making that decision and then seeing the show at some point, and it's just a complete, like,
and I won't care.
Yeah, like, and people are looking at you like, so your daddy used to put out cigarettes on you and make you fight in the ice cold in your drawers? Like, yeah, that's what they said. I don't know. Right?
You're gonna go sit in the play, and they gonna be like, why is your character white? But like, if that's what they want to do.
Exactly. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't watch it. So.
I didn't watch it. No.
The thing is, either way, it boosts book sales, right?
Right.
And honestly, the more people can talk about the difference between the show and the book, the better. You know, and and this goes for like selling book and movie rights. This goes for like my career as a journalist or content creator, whatever. You know, people know me as a person with sort of an identity as a journalist and a writer, and like a backbone, a sense of integrity, and all of that is true.
Up to $7 million.
I'm not saying I would never sell out,
right?
But just for the sums of money that are flying around. Yeah, but just for the sums of money that are for offer for me these days, it's not worth selling out, so I might as well just be myself. But if somebody comes to me and says, here is Stephen A. Smith money,
right,
but you got to act a fool.
I'll
act a fool for Stephen A. Smith money. I'll act a fool.
Listen,
you just got to pay me act a fool money.
This man make more money than some of the athletes he talking about.
And this is not to say, this is not to say Stephen A. Smith is a fool. I'm not saying that at all. No, but like for that kind of money, I will be what you need me to be.
Well, not just that. I think even Stephen A. Smith would admit sometimes he has to act a fool. Like, I'm not saying he is a fool.
Yes.
Matter of fact, far from it.
I'd say he's extremely smart. Pretty smarter than I am if we're measuring if intelligence correlates to the size of your bank account. He's much smarter.
Yeah, he'll figure it out. Like, he'll figure that shit out. But that is interesting. You said a word that I thought was interesting too there when you said content creator. I was actually talking to Bomani about this after he watched the Jamie Foxx stand-up special, which he did not enjoy.
Yeah, I heard his episode about that with Dragonfly Jones. Yeah.
And I did not watch it, but I did not watch it because even before Bomani, I was sure I would not enjoy it. And I did not need the cultural like FOMO. Whatever. Like I don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, y'all watch that, and y'all like and to be honest, the reason I watch it is because as soon as it dropped, the first people I saw reviewing it, none of them had the word funny in it. Every review was like, man, it was half testimony at church.
Yeah. Oh, this is not a comedy special.
One person said, I cried from beginning to end. I was like,
I saw a lot of that too.
Did you cry laughing or you cried? And it's like, no, I cried, man. He's just so thankful to be alive. I was like, it doesn't sound like a good time for me. Nothing wrong with people that enjoy that. But the last thing I want to do is tap into an hour and 10 minutes and come back and be like, guys, this shit is not funny. And then everybody's like, well, it wasn't about that. Well, they sold it as stand-up special.
Right. They didn't say one man show. They sold it as
testimony.
Special.
Okay.
There is a big difference, right? Like remember Mike Tyson had his one-man show? But you don't expect that to be funny.
So that brings me back to this. I told Bo the content creator won, right? They essentially won the battle between the like artist and the maker of content. And like, either at this point, you can either be in denial of that fact or you can get to making this content. You know,
ain't that true?
Like, cause to me, and it's not just Jamie Foxx, there's several, like there's all kinds of Chris Rock's last stand-up special felt like this to me.
Oh, hold on. Live podcasting. Here comes my wife with a laptop charger. Here's
love to see you.
Hey, sweetie. Hey, how you doing?
My wife's still in her PJs. I don't think she wants to.
How y'all doing?
The P stands for Perdita's husband.
How you doing?
Hey, baby.
We love to see it. Black love.
Hold on. Let me unplug the headphones so they can hear.
Black love, black family. We love to see it.
We love to see it.
Nova's washing her face. Hold on. So hold on. So let's continue with the question until my daughter comes in.
Okay.
I told the audience I'm a sitcom dad. You're all about to see.
We like all the Instagram photos. This is actually why we booked you.
Come on.
We was hoping the family would just show up randomly anyway.
Yes.
Oh, wait, here we go. Hold on.
Oh, snap. Oh, a baby.
Oh, a baby. Oh, we like the babies.
She said, let me come in here and get my podcasting career started. Oh, we can't hear you on your mic now for some reason. I don't know if it was coming through your headphones or what, but now we don't hear it at all. Did it? No, it's not muted.
That's adorable.
This really is sitcom stuff. We can't even hear it. Nope, we can't hear you. Maybe you got to refresh.
Your baby may have knocked something over.
I don't.
That's what happens when you get the sitcom fam. Somebody kicked the cord.
It's a rare condition in this day and age.
Yeah,
reading it good news. That's full sitcom. Yeah, try refreshing. There's also a settings icon down at the bottom right of the chat that looks like a gear, and that may tell you like what microphone you can use. What
your microphone may have changed.
So I don't know what happened. But we got a little too loose with the caboose and tried to get nope, can't hear you. Yep. Oh man, what's going on, guys? This is
music mode test, because it says there we go. Yeah, this thing is telling me there.
Okay. Now we can't hear him again. What just happened? I don't know.
It went back, Morgan.
Whatever happened, we lost it again.
Test. There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It's weird. If I'm gonna keep this window open because I can see on this window if the microphone is working.
Oh, okay. All right.
And if you listen closely, you can also hear my St. Lucian mother-in-law back there. So it's
I'm
trying to tell you.
Everybody,
we love to see it.
We got animal prints and hebos.
Yeah. When you said 11:30, I knew. I said, there's no way this man getting an uninterrupted hour and a half. So
no way.
It is what it is. You know, you can either be a good dad or you could be like the kind of dad that don't get interrupted.
Yeah, or cool dad.
That's true. You can't be both. It's very difficult.
Yeah, you can't be both. You got to pick a lane.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I was saying is like content to me, like Jamie Foxx at that point, you're putting out like it's more content than stand-up special. Like you get paid to be a specialist. They're like, people don't have these skills, they can't do this thing.
Right.
And now like with content winning the day, these companies, even when they're buying a stand-up special, to them in some room, it's just content.
Yes.
You need to own this percentage share of the content in the market.
Yes.
That's why they don't care about the difference between like a reality show versus a scripted drama versus even something being necessarily good. The metric they're using is, would you watch it?
Yes.
Would you read it? Would you see? So like, it's why celebrities get book deals where they don't even write the book, where it's like, if we put Kardashian name on the front, you'll read it, even if you're like, I hate them, I'm gonna read. So I feel like there's this battle that has been lost in this area. And while artists can make content, all content is not art. You know what I'm saying? And so it made me think about that, because I feel like you're a bit of a specialist. Like, you write, there's a reason that you can make a book and also write about Drake and also write about boxing. Like there's a reason that you have that.
And I be learning shit. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm like, who? Oh, I guess he boxing.
But in this new market where the specialist is in competition with the content creator,
right?
I feel like you kind of have to become a jack of all trades. So like, since leaving the paper, writing the book, started doing the blog, are you feeling that in the market, this idea of like specialist has kind of taken a back seat to, you just need to be making some content at all times?
Good question. Right. In a perfect world, I would just be well enough known that I would not have to be a content creator or not have to feel present on social media all the time. Like every writer, not every writer, but a lot of us dream of doing the Ta-Nehisi Coates and just saying, you know what? I'm done with social media. Goodbye. And that's that. But he is well enough known. He's good enough at his job, and has a platform that allows him to walk away from social media, because
most people can't do that.
Yeah, he puts a book out and he's on every morning show, and the buzz sustains itself. Whereas the rest of us, or maybe him, if this was like 20 years, or if he was just starting out now, you got to be on social media. You got to be talking about your book. It's, again, we all love talking about our books. Could I live with less social media? Probably. But there is sort of a pressure, and a lot of it is trial and error, figuring out like what type of content supports, complements, genuinely helps promote, the book or the website, as opposed to is just out there. Because one of the things I find is that the top of the funnel is really wide and the bottom of the funnel is very thin. But a lot of that also has to do with the algorithms, so like on TikTok, most of my videos do a few hundred views, somewhere between 400 and 900, but I had done a whole series of videos about, it was the morning of the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, and I was trying to warn people don't listen. I was trying to warn people to keep their expectations down. This dude is 58 years old.
Low.
He's 58 years old.
And this came up when I talked about. And you know what Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson is? Content.
Yes.
100%. And back to your point, okay, because and so the people really making the decisions and writing the checks, they don't care if it's scripted or reality, except in the sense that reality is much cheaper because you don't got to pay union actors, you ain't got to pay writers, which is why you have just seen a flood of this stuff. Like even I was texting a little bit with Bo when they got rid of Game Theory, and he was like, yeah, people liked the show, but the bean counters, they just didn't want to pay for it no more. And because like, especially if you're the parent company, like, why would I pay really good host an A team of writers when I can put out 18 more seasons of 90 Day Fiance? You know what I mean?
What's interesting about that with Game Theory is we were a cheap show. Like WB
not
was
cheap,
like
not cheap enough, evidently.
Well, WB was like, we're getting out of the TV show business. Yep. Like it was like that. Like and I obviously shout out to the fans and the people that love the show. We love the show. But this was one of those times where you get to have your head held high because I'm like, oh, it wasn't about the ratings. It wasn't like shit we could have did. They just looked at TV in general. It was like from Succession to the fucking the Winning Time to like all shit gotta end. We just in the Game of Thrones business and we cutting episodes out of that shit too. Like it was, so it's like when you leave, it's like we're all carrying our boxes together from our desk. Like this, you know, like you never want to get fired one at a time. You want to get fired in mass where it's like, well shit, what could I have done? It's all 40 of us leaving this building.
Yeah.
But it tells you something about the people at the top that they're just like, they see it all as content. Like sports is very much like this, in my opinion, with Sports Network, where the NBA, for example, all the NBA analysts, all the NBA media people are always constantly talking about the ratings or every year they want to tweak the game. Like there's never a year where the game is just, it's just good this year. Every year it's like, there are too many foul calls. Then they switch it. They say we're gonna stop calling fouls. Oh, they're not calling. Why did they switch the fouls? They didn't come out and tell us they're gonna stop calling fouls because you fucking begged for it all year. Like they did the thing you wanted. You should be enjoying basketball now. But what about the ratings? How come? I mean, look, Christmas used to be the NBA's day. Now it's the NFL's day, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still a TV show,
right?
And it's still like
it's still a TV show.
How we engage with it is also how they sell it, right? So the idea of this is just content it's trickled all the way to the top, where it's like, all right, we're just putting something on that we're hoping you guys will watch. Netflix has no fucking business being in the NFL game. There's zero correlation between streaming Netflix and needing to watch NFL games.
Yeah,
but someone with a lot of money in charge of Netflix is like, but it's content. Those are two of the biggest TV shows, is what we just got. And we're going to add Beyonce and Mariah Carey to it to make them even bigger events. And that tells you something about specialization and how, like, the idea of growing a league, growing a game. I saw a post on the NBA's like social media that was about the NBA Cup. And it was like derogatory to the teams that made it. Like, they might not be the big market teams. And I was like, well, damn. Y'all in the content game too. Y'all supposed to be like, oh, finally a changing of the guard. Look at these young up and coming teams that they're not. You don't have to be a major TV market to be worth watching on TV. Right. And instead, it's like, sorry, y'all. All we got is Oklahoma City and the Rockets. It's sad, man. Content won.
Yeah, and the thing, I guess the thing that kind of frustrates me about the content, be it good, bad, and different, sometimes it ends up watering down the products, and sometimes, depending on the fan, it makes it almost impossible to know where shit is, because now sometimes I don't know where nothing's airing. Is it on TV1? Is it on Pluto? Is it on the Disney Channel? I don't know what the fuck the shit is. So you almost have to.
I don't think Pluto. It's not on Pluto. I know for a fact.
It's because they have it in so many different places. And I'm sorry, Morgan. Roger talking about watered down product. This is my thing. People consistently talk about the NBA. As a fan of the NBA, I'm gonna tell you right now. When we tell you what's a fucking watered down product, then I watch it too. Is the NFL. The NFL is a fucking watered down product. It's on fucking 7 days a week. They give you bullshit and you still watch.
Yeah,
and that's what they have figured out. And if the people who wind up paying the price for that ultimately are the players, because they have these longer seasons and these shortened work weeks.
More injury.
You know who cares about that? Not the NFL. Those contracts, not at the team level, because those contracts are not guaranteed. Not at the league level, just because as long as they have bodies to throw out there, and this is what they've learned too.
The NFL is the ultimate content It's the ultimate content, because the expectation of the football being good is not correlated with the ratings. It's the ultimate content.
Not at all.
It's why, not to be a dick to these people, but it's why I can't listen to the the analysts who constantly bemoan the ratings. It's like you're comparing the NBA ratings to like crack,
right?
Like stepped on crack. Like if people will watch a preseason NFL game and make it one of the top 50 TV events of the year, that's just crack. That's like me coming in your house and being like, I mean, yeah, this dinner is good and I enjoyed it and I appreciate the time you put on it, but it's not giving me the same feeling as being high on crack cocaine. What can you do to fix these grits? It's like, you can't fix the grits. Will never be cracked. NBA will never be cracked.
Right.
If the NFL want to take over Christmas, it's gonna take over Christmas. If it wants to take over the presidential debate, if it wants to take over election night in America,
it could.
If it wants to take over the inauguration, if they put a game on during the inauguration in America, the game will be watched more than inauguration. At that point, and I don't mean the good game. I mean, you can send motherfuckers to Europe
overseas
and be the worst two teams in the league. It's gonna be one of the top rated events that happened on TV that week. That's just crack cocaine, and that is just content.
Yeah, and what amazes me about the NFL is that they have taken over like every holiday post Labor Day, all the way almost to President's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And if they find a way to expand, maybe in the next CBA, get an 18th regular season game, so now everything takes 1 week long, because we're already almost at Valentine's Day for the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
right.
Push you closer to President's Day, which is another NBA holiday.
Yep.
Right.
And MLK Day. They definitely, if they could find a way to move the games to MLK Day and be like fuck the NBA, they do it.
Yeah.
What I'm waiting for is for them to move their regular season opener forward by a week and bump college football off of Labor Day. I think.
See, that's the way I'm thinking about too, Morgan. I've been saying for years, it's like the NFL lets college football exist. I know college football hardcore fans will be like, no, that's not what's happening. I promise you, NFL content is that addictive. If they wanted to shut down college, it benefits them to have that college.
Yes.
Like they should not want to. Like it would be greedy as fuck, but also short-sighted as fuck for them to do stuff like, hey, we should be putting on NFL games during the bowl games. Like that's also dumb.
Yes.
Because what you have right now is essentially a free to you feeder system.
Yes.
That gives people 3 years of publicity. So that when someone
publicity and on the job training.
Exactly. Yes. So when someone comes into your league, they come in with cachet that they would not have if like how it is in the NBA, where the NBA only has one and done.
Well, it's funny. It's funny that you use the NBA as the example, because the NBA used to have a whole bunch of people coming in also with an audience, right? Mm-hmm. And now the NBA is a lot more like baseball. Like, you don't know who, unless you are a hardcore fan of a specific team, you don't know who the new people are. Yeah, exactly. You don't know who the good guys are until they become good.
Yeah,
like, Juan Soto did not show up with fans. Juan Soto was, to the hardcore baseball fans, an outstanding prospect, but the rest of us, we didn't know who he was until he had a few years in Washington putting up numbers. And so the NFL is the last league now that just benefits from people coming in with an audience and bringing their audience with them to the NFL. And I think the one thing that keeps them from really just crushing college football is the fact that they enjoy, because otherwise they would have, all these NFL teams now would have to invest in the risk of taking 10,000 18-year-olds and figuring out which 1,500 of those 10,000 are going to make it to the NFL and become serviceable players. And that's extremely expensive, and they don't want to take that risk. They'd rather let college teams take that risk.
With the NBA is also suffering from something else, which is they put their money where their mouth is and grew the game globally in a way the NFL can't. Like the NFL is trying, but it's there's never going to be like an NCAA equivalent in Europe or in South America.
No.
But the NBA is actually suffering from the fact that when you look around, a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is one of the best basketball players in the world, he came out of a Canada system where people are like having to learn he's good in real time, as opposed to like when back in the day, every once in a while you have a guy like a Tim Duncan or Dave Robinson, somebody where everybody's like, oh, we know this guy and we can't wait to see him. In this last NBA draft, which everyone's like, oh, this draft is one of the weakest ever. Part of the reason people think it's the weakest ever is because y'all don't know the 7 motherfuckers from France who got picked, because Tony Parker and them went in there and put in that work. The French team was balling the French team was balling in the Olympics.
Yes, they were.
These guys have come into the league. They've actually been pretty good, but they don't have any cachet. They don't come in as fully formed stars.
Yes.
And so we would agree, I think most of us would be like, growing the game globally is great for the league. A league should want to do that. Get more talent. You get more. And then you're like, but actually it kind of hurts your team, because it kind of hurts your league. When these guys come in, Luka Doncic isn't Luka. He's not coming in as Luka yet. He's coming in as like, you heard about that one guy?
From overseas, over there in France.
And also basketball. So it's a lot like soccer, except that American basketball fans are not like soccer fans in the sense that, like, the hardcore soccer fans, they know who the 14-year-old at Chelsea's academy is. And they're like, oh, I can't wait till Hernan Caicedo turns 18 and joins the senior club. Like, they know that stuff. But like basketball fans, they don't know who's playing basketball at Real Madrid at 16 years of age. And it's so on the one hand, the NBA loses out on having people arrive to the league as 19, 20, 21-year-olds with an audience. And I think the other thing they lose with an American audience is the fact that Americans still, for the most part, like to watch Americans.
Yes.
And so one of the reasons that the NFL is able to brand itself as the most American league and wrap itself in patriotism in ways that even baseball can't is that it's the last major league where a critical mass of the players are still American. And even like the Canadian dudes that are in the NFL, they all go to college in the US. The Samoan dudes that are in the NFL, they all go to college in the US. A lot of them grow up in Utah or California or Hawaii or whatever. And so that's what allows them to brand themselves as patriotic, allows them to append themselves to every single holiday, because even baseball, 30% of MLB is cats from Dominican, Venezuela, Cuba, up to Japan, and so every other league has those two things going against it that the NFL has going for it. They got people that come in that are young, that are anonymous, yes, and then people that are not from the U.S. and Americans like to look at Americans, and so this is two big advantages the NFL has.
Xenophobia is real, and also a lot of it is the unspoken white specific xenophobia. So like Luka and Joker are white guys, and they're two of the best players in the league, MVP candidates. White people do not claim them. Like they do not look at them as like part of us. And you know how you know it's true? It's because look at how far some of them went for Caitlin Clark. Who I love Caitlin Clark. I'm a big fan of Caitlin Clark.
Right.
But the amount of white people who just came out of the woodwork who are like, I've never heard of sport before until Caitlin Clark. Y'all should be thanking Caitlin Clark. And it's like, wait a minute. People been balling the whole time. You could not see yourself until you saw an American-born white person being dominant at a sport. And then you inserted your entire xenophobic idealism into this, your ideology into this.
Yeah.
And now you're mad because this person's like, I don't want to be the leader of the racist white people. That's not why I got into this game.
In fairness to the xenophobic whites, they are just playing the percentages. They see this English-speaking white person from Iowa, and Iowa votes. Remember how Iowa teased people the last polls? Oh, they might go Kamala this time. And when the only poll that mattered, was election day, and they're like, we are not voting Kamala Harris. So if they're just playing their percentages, we are in a gambling era now. All we ever do now is gamble. So they're like, this is a pretty good bet that she's going to be, especially because she's in a sport where there's a lot of black people. We get off on the fact that she dominates black people, so she must get a special thrill out of the fact that she dominates. And when they find out she doesn't, they're very disappointed. I can see it because they were just playing. It's not like she came from California or New York.
I'll say this: along the way, there were signs. There were signs. It was in denial because, like, when she liked that Taylor Swift post that was endorsing Kamala, I know they was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And then when she kept getting asked about racism, eventually had to be like, "I don't want the racist fans. Like, I don't need all fans and shit in my name. That's not. I just want to play basketball, everybody." I told Bo this too as well. I said, "Hey man, you know what this means? If Larry Bird would have existed now, he would have had to say something." Yep. That's crazy. That's crazy.
He would have had. He would have had to say something.
And the assumption many of us made, it fair or not fair, was like, this man represents white supremacy and racism in America. This is the race. He might not be racist, but he racist people #1 player for sure.
Yeah, but he won't put your ass though.
But he didn't really need to address it. He never needed to address it because it was at least enough away from the fervent Larry Bird supporter wasn't putting it on his chest like, yeah, and y'all being mean to Larry with these fouls. Like, it was just like, he cold and we like watching him beat you, and you might wonder why I'm smiling so hard, but I'll never confirm that I'm smiling because it's a white man.
But this again,
now is overt, and she had to say something.
Yeah, but Larry Bird also came from a time when the other white people in the NBA were also American. There's not a ton of white American players. They're all waiting on Cooper Flagg to be. I guess it's a dad joke to say that Cooper Flagg is going to become the standard bearer. But guys, I'm a dad. But I remember it was probably about 12, 15 years ago. Buzz Bissinger, the guy that wrote Friday Night Lights, and he had this long essay in one of these magazines about how this preponderance of black players. It's weird how people will fall so in love with an argument that they will look at the data. Mm-hmm. And the data tells them the opposite of their argument, and they'll just make the argument anyway. So his argument was that white fans stopped watching the NBA because the NBA became too black. Even though in his two sets of data, both dealt with a league that was 75% black. And the thing that changed wasn't the proportion of white players, it was their origin. So when Buzz Bissinger and his buddies, when they watched the NBA, the 25% of players that was white, they were all American. Now, of the 25% that is white, a very small percentage are American, the rest are European. And it's the fact that the makeup of the white people has changed, the backgrounds of the white people has changed, is what has turned white Americans off of the sport. And so, but he wanted to blame this on black people. Like, hey man, don't put this on us because y'all were watching 30 years ago when there were a lot of white guys in the league named McDermott and Jackson and whatever.
Yes,
it's just you're not watching now that everybody's last name is Stojakovic and all this.
Right.
And so again, this is.
Hey, look, white people strict about that race shit. I don't know why they so strict.
It takes a long time for them, and they are very different from black people.
Let me tell you how different these motherfuckers are from us. Fam, if I'm watching the Olympics, I don't give a fuck if you from America or not. You show up with a team of black people doing anything,
I'm cheering for you.
Leaning towards them. It don't even matter what the sport is. You can be fucking bobsled,
curling.
Cool Runnings is an entire movie based on this phenomenon that we just like black people doing anything. I'm in. White people do not have that. You need to be from the corn-fed fields of Indiana before I will even move my heart towards you. I'm like, bro, I used to tell white dudes this. It was kind of a recurring joke, but at the gym, because we're all basketball fans and shit, and I'd be like, "Hey, man, why y'all don't claim Luka? Because I'll be honest, I don't fuck with Tiger Woods. Me and Tiger Woods have nothing in common. I don't think our politics or anything is close to the same. But when he be up there in that red shirt on a motherfucking Sunday afternoon, that's my guy. Okay.
And you know what? No matter what they say about Tiger Woods, no matter how they feel about what he did, Tiger draws. And the second, even to today, no matter how terrible he is, the second Tiger is out, this is why they're making exceptions. Whatever, like, we're going to go ahead and put you in because we know that you can't make it. Right. And the second you're not here no more, ratings tank.
Well, Tiger is content now too.
I was about to say that Tiger is content.
Like, man got one knee, no back, and we just out here like, but can you think you might can do something this weekend? No.
You know what? The sad part about it, and me is not. Don't nobody give a fuck about none of them other players. They don't want to admit that. Like, you can't get the casual golfer a lot of times unless you deep into golf to just be like, ooh, it will be times where I'll be like, oh, Tiger on, let me go to the channel.
Listen,
same thing with Serena and Venus. Let me go to the channel because they're on.
You put a picture of Bryson DeChambeau up there, and then Josh Hawley. Challenge your audience with no names to figure out which one is Bryson DeChambeau, which one's Josh Hawley.
Right.
Who's the golfer? Who's the senator that ran from the mob?
I don't know.
It's a coin toss to me. The rest of these cats is anonymous.
Yeah.
Even like Phil Mickelson took the money from the Saudis, and I know the name Phil Mickelson. I know he's left-handed.
Right.
I know he's been in trouble for insider trading.
Mm-hmm.
But if he walked down the street, if Phil Mickelson had his dog,
could not
had the dog poop on my lawn, I would not be able to say Phil Mickelson's dog pooped on my lawn. I would just be like, this white man,
right, unbothered
on my lawn. Right, but if Tiger, I know what Tiger Woods looks like.
Right,
you know?
And but the thing is, we will claim Tiger is the thing. I'm saying, to this day, like honestly, that's the thing that was really funny about the Jake Paul thing, because I was doing the radio at the time with Karen Hunter, and man, I was just shaking my head. So many black people called in to talk about how they were gonna watch it, and they were talking. I could hear them talking themselves in the mic, beating him up, and I'm like, and like I felt bad to be the party pooper, but I also felt obligated to tell them, like, that's not going to happen.
Right.
This is not an actual fighting event. This is not boxing for real. This is content, and there's no part of 60-year-old Mike Tyson that would actually be better off beating this guy. Like, there's nothing about this that will actually make it be like, if he, like, let's say he had the ability to beat him.
Yeah.
Even if he had the ability, it's just fucking up Jake Paul's bag to beat him.
Yes.
Did you a $20 million favor, essentially, for you just showing up and being like, I'm Mike Tyson, give me $20 million and going the fuck home. That's before you get into the tell of the tape type shit. And most importantly, all they're really selling you is this white guy fighting a black guy. He's been doing it over and over.
No. What they're selling, it's not just, they're not selling you white guy fighting a black guy. Because if that was the case, Jake Paul versus Andre August would have done huge numbers, and it didn't. It's Jake Paul fighting the idea of 1988 Mike Tyson. That's what did numbers, and it's not just the opponents are. Yeah,
hold on. I'm sorry. One second, Morgan. I didn't say it was effective every time.
Yeah, okay.
They are selling the same thing every time, which is, here he is fighting Nate Robinson. Like,
no, I will tell you this.
It's like,
there's two things Jake Paul sells. He doesn't sell the same thing every time.
Okay.
There is Jake Paul beating up on a black guy who looks threatening but is just unqualified to do this.
Yeah.
But also because he fights these old white guys too, you know, like Nate Diaz. It's whatever makes that person seem like a credible opponent as a boxer. Okay. Sometimes it's just the fact that they're a black guy. Sometimes it's the fact that they're a washed up mixed martial artist. The one time he fought a guy who knew how to box a little bit, he lost.
Yeah.
And so he's very good at finding, no, because the times he's fought like journeyman boxers, like the type of people that you would expect a boxer of Jake Paul's skill level to fight, but guys that were not famous. Okay, he's won those fights, but no one paid attention.
Right.
And what Jake Paul is doing is he's fighting the kinds of fights that you fight when you're a novice pro boxer, and getting huge money to do it. Because usually, like these fights here, in terms of skill level, if there's fights at your local arena, not even the big arena, like just local auditorium, a local small time casino, these fights aren't even the main event. Right. These fights are like at the bottom of the undercard. The Jake Paul has figured out how to take bottom of the undercard action, and put it to the main event and get pay-per-view star sized paychecks. And in this case, again, what he is selling, Jake Paul did not sell this fight. The idea of Mike Tyson sold this fight.
Well, it's the carnival dunk tank. Is that Jake Paul so hateable? He's like, you'll watch anyone try to humiliate me,
right?
Yes,
and for the most part, when I said the versus a black guy thing, I didn't even realize I was doing this subconsciously, but I'm talking about when these black people get interested in watching.
Yes,
not the like those other fights that nobody watched. I'm not even talking about those, but like. I've seen black people talk themselves into Nate Robinson gonna knock this man out. And I'm like, brother, I promise you that's us interjecting some stuff because we don't have the data points to justify that feeling other than I want to see this white dude get his ass knocked out.
In fairness, we did not know enough about Jake Paul as a boxer back then. And all we knew about Nate Robinson is that he likes to fight in real life, but like real life fighting and boxing are not the same. Like a boxer does a lot better in a street fight against like just a dude than a street fighter does in a boxing match.
Exactly.
You know? But that was when we learned that like Jake Paul, if you put him in against a non-boxer, he's going to beat the non-boxer.
Right.
But again, he's been able to take this sort of novice pro level skill set to the top of pay-per-view cards. But at some point, we are just going to have to let Mike Tyson be 58 years old. And like, he's 58 years old. He has sciatica. He has bleeding ulcers. Right? Just let him be that and stop imagining this guy.
I mean, he told us.
Yes.
I thought it was so funny because on the Karen Hunter show, when these people were calling in, it was right after that clip of the interview with the little girl who was like, you know, what do you think about legacy? And he gives this really dark answer.
Yes.
And shout out to her professionalism, you know, taking it in stride. But he gives this really dark answer. And people were calling in being like, see, he gonna destroy him. I was like, I heard a man that said this doesn't matter.
Like, because it doesn't. Well, here's the but it doesn't. You know, you want to know how we know is because it does not matter how many times Mike Tyson underperforms. It just looks like an old guy out there going through the motions. He goes away for a while. He comes back, and we always imagine 1988 Mike Tyson. So he got embarrassed by Jake Paul this time, and people are asking me, what's this going to do to Mike Tyson's legacy? Right. Absolutely nothing, because if a listless, lackluster loss did something to ruin Mike Tyson's legacy, he was having those losses 20 years ago, and we still think 20 years later, and 20 years worth of health problems later, he's just going to jump up and be 21-year-old Mike Tyson. Nothing he does is going to affect his legacy. His legacy is set. It does not matter,
brother. It is crazy. It really to watch this happen.
Yes.
I want to ask you a couple more questions. I'll do speed fire round. We know you got to get out of here in 5 minutes. All right.
Let's do it.
Claressa Shields.
Yes.
Did you see her ever taking on the battle of her life out of the boxing ring in trying to fight possibly Remy Ma?
I saw a couple of these sort of floated across my timeline. First thing, because Claressa has a rap record too. She don't want it in a rap battle with Remy Ma,
right?
But, people Claressa Shields. I've seen her lose one time, and that was in a mixed martial arts fight, and that is not her sport, right? But like, there is nobody, no matter how tough they seem, Claressa Shields is gonna kick their ass.
Yeah.
Any woman on the planet in a boxing match, several of them at the same time.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, they were trying to tell me that Layla Ali, like right now, Layla Ali is the same age I am. She was born in the mid-70s.
Yeah, she's much older.
Beat Claressa Shields. And they were mad at Claressa Shields for pointing out this old woman's not going to beat me.
Right.
And Layla Ali, to give her credit, was smart enough not to bring her ass back in the gym and go train.
Don't do it. You're going to have to shoot her. Like now.
Claressa Shields, that's what I was going to say now. Now, I think Remy Ma recognizes she can't beat Claressa Shields in any type of fight.
Her resume says she'll pop out on, so like she'll pull that thing out. So I hope both of them are careful. I hope they don't fight.
Yes.
But every time I see that commercial for the new movie about Claressa Shields' life, I'll be like, that's the girl that's gonna grow up to steal papoose and all right, the next thing, like I said, I'm gonna go through the speed round. How is Canada handling the whole Drake thing? Are y'all okay up there?
I personally am fine.
Okay.
I personally am fine because y'all read my book. I'm very secure in my identity as an African American. The thing that fascinates me about Drake is that, and like Bossy Ickpy and I talk, we always DM about this stuff, is the fact that Drake has an actual, like, legitimate, authentic, organic connection to Black America and Black American culture, but still comes at it like a culture vulture, and I don't know why.
What is that about?
Right.
So, like, remember Lou Bega, Mambo number 5?
Yeah.
That guy was no type of Afro-Latin American.
Right.
He was, I think one of his parents was from Uganda and one was from Italy. He grew up in like Germany, but he looked the part. He's like, let me swoop in like a culture vulture because people will buy it from me because I look the part. But Drake is like a Lou Bega. He don't have to be. Like, his dad is from Memphis. He has an authentic, organic connection to the history, to the culture. And he just happy for whatever reason he chooses to come at it like a culture vulture. And I just, like, the Drake fans get mad at me for mentioning this. And they keep trying to explain to me what this line actually means. I'm like, hey, this guy has had all this space to say exactly what he means.
Right.
But, like, I cannot respect a Black person who says, you always rapping like you about to get the slaves free.
Yep.
Why should I respect this person? It does not matter what the rest of his body of work is.
And then
that line is disqualifying.
And on top of that,
here's
he's
the other
taking
thing.
rap beef to the courtroom to sue.
First thing, Drake is still all right. This is very Donald Trump-like. Yeah. These numbers are fake unless they favor me, and then they're real.
Right.
So now, are the Spotify numbers fake?
Or are they real?
Because bigger picture, Drake is still the highest ranking rap artist on Spotify. So the numbers are fake until they favor me, then they're real.
And y'all on the same label. So
yes, and
it makes sense.
You told us that you fed Kendrick fake info, and this is what he made his songs out of. Ha ha ha! Jokes on you, Kendrick.
Right? But I'm suing.
But now I'm suing you for defamation. But if I feed you fake info, how are you defaming me when I gave you that info?
Fam, what's happening? What's up with this man? And I do appreciate Kendrick doing an encore show in Toronto. I do.
In addition to
see how that goes. I wish I could get tickets just to that. I wish I could fly to Toronto.
It's amazing though. It's strange because, like, when you go back and listen to Euphoria, like, everything that Kendrick said was gonna happen, has happened.
All in that preamble too. You don't even gotta listen to the whole Euphoria. Before he even get the jam, and he told you already, them superpowers been neutralized. I can only watch in silence. Just listen to that, man. Anyway, the GOAT.
So, all right. So to answer your question, Canadians are very conflicted. On the one hand, though, like, a lot of Canadians aren't conflicted, and the truth is, there is a strong undercurrent of anti-Blackness in, like, especially in Family Matters. Like, you hear it.
Yes.
And
nigga, I was like, whoa.
A lot of Drake's.
That's not how you
emphasis. He put so much emphasis on the N.
Yeah.
It was only because he knew he could not use the R. So he's like, I got to put it on the front end because I can't put it on the back end.
The only way out for him might be to go through and just be like, I'm MAGA now. Okay, guys.
It would not surprise me. But, like, again, you guys, y'all read my memoir, heard it. You know who I grew up around. You know the language I heard in my house all the time, how my dad and my uncle, how they talk to each other. My uncle's from the west side of Chicago. My dad's from the south side of Chicago.
Right.
That's how they talk. I had never heard my dad or my uncle say,
he put a lot of in.
Never.
A lot of in.
Never.
All right, look, it's time. We're past the time you do a lot for us, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for spending time with us.
Yo, make sure y'all go get the book
anytime. Let me warn your because I'm my publisher and I are fighting right now with the U.S. distributor because right now it is next to impossible to get my book in stores in the U.S. And thankfully, because I just happened to stop by Call and Response Books in Chicago, new indie bookstore in Chicago, Black owned in Hyde Park. We were talking about it, and like, yeah, we'd love to carry your book. We cannot get it from our distributor. So anyone that's interested in ordering the book, best bet right now is to get it online, but like hopefully in the first quarter of 2025, we'll have straightened things out with Ingram, which is the big distributor of books in the US, to get that book in stores in the US, because I always get people asking me. I went to Barnes and Noble, I went here, I couldn't find it. You can get it online. I'm not going to tell you not to get it from Amazon. Get it. Right. Do the thing that works with your budget. Right. But order from an indie if you can. Okay. Only like Jeff Bezos doesn't need more of our money. He just took $1 million and gave it to Trump for his inauguration. He doesn't need more of my money.
I gave him the money so I get the Kindle version, because I like to leave notes, and I like to be able to go back to the notes and reference them, to read the excerpts and be like, Morgan was writing his ass off right here. So I'm not gonna lie to you, he got me, but y'all be better than me. Y'all go out there and go directly to a Black person and get this book. Thank you so much, Morgan.
Thank you guys anytime. And like, hey, if Kendrick and Drake flare up again, you guys need an expert. I literally wrote the book on Afro-American-Canadian relations. You let me know.
Bruh, we're gonna have you back. It will not, I promise you this, it will not be 4 years. It won't be this before the next time you're on the show. I promise you that. I googled it right before the last episode he was on was White Guilt is a Finite Resource. July 29th, 2020. And I'm pretty sure we were talking at the time, like, brother, get that money, write that book. Because you don't know.
But were we not correct about that?
Were we not?
What's happened since then?
Were we? These guys are like, let me take a long sip from my smug mug. Right? Because didn't we fucking say,
get the money while you can?
All right, that's it. We'll be back throughout the week. We'll be back throughout the week. Thanks for listening. Until next time. Check out Morgan. Get the book. Until next time, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody. Bye, Morgan.